Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel again. Today, I'd like to take a few moments of your time to go over some more of the material, which will be new for some of you or a refresher for others. And that's looking at the direction for funeral parties according to the 1804 and the 1807. Now, why I am talking to you about this today is because the last video I put out, which a link will be given later on, is a much longer version, looking at a lot more of the source material. What I'm doing today is a much more shorter version, the Coles Notes version, if you please, so that it's easier to train your sections for being able to have this implemented at Fort Erie. Now, this is meant for the Crown Forces North America companies. So what we're going to be using as the source material for this is the rules and regulations for the manual and platoon exercise, formations, and field exercise and movements for His Majesty's forces. This is put together in 1807 as a means for company sergeants to be able to better instruct their men. Now, the explanations found in this for the directions for funeral parties is the same as it is in the 1804. So if you're like me and you're reading along or you'd like to read along, you can either pull out your 1804 or you can pull out your 1807 and the text will be the same. If you have the 1807, it comes on page 121. Now let's take a look at what this looks like. So as it's written, the explanation for reversing firelocks reads as follows. The right hand strikes the butt of the firelock, which turned upwards, the guard turned towards the body. The firelock is then placed under the left arm, seizing the cock and hammer with the left forefingers and thumb. The right hand is thrown behind the body and grasps the firelock. The right heel, at the same time, is brought to the original position. Now let's take a look at what this looks like.
Reverse your firelock by the number 1, 2, 3, 4.
Now I will mention, I have shortened the 4 count of ordinary time between each motion, just for a little bit of speediness or utility for this. So when you're instructing your companies, make sure between each motion you have your 4 count of ordinary time. Now let's take a look at the rest upon your firelocks reversed. So as it's written, the firelock is quitted by the right hand and brought to the perpendicular position. The muzzle placed upon the toes of the left foot. The right and left hands open are placed upon the butt end of the firelock. The soldier's head leaning on the back of the hand so as to look towards the corpse. Now let's take a look at what this looks like.
Rest upon your firelock reversed by the numbers 1, 2, 3.
Now the final and the last 2 motions for this will be the attention and the present arms. For the attention, all it is your head snaps back up. And then as it's written for the present firelocks, by seizing the firelock with the left hand at the swell, the right hand shifted, and both holding the firelock in the same position as the presented arms. Now let's take a look at that.
Okay, good. Present arms by the numbers 1, 2.
Now I have went through these fairly fast. Now, I'm now going to take a few moments here just to kind of break it down a little bit slower, taking a detailed look at each one of the motions for each of the commands. So when we're breaking down the movements by the numbers, the first motion in the reverse firelocks is the right hand strikes the butt of the firelock. Now I will take a few moments here just to kind of a little throwback here. According to the Rowlandson prints, which he does break down each individual motion and gives a lot more detail than the regular rules and regulations do, it gives us a better understanding of where the pauses in the motions should be. So that's why the breaks are where they are, just so you know. So again, with this one, it's one of the notes is the thumb is behind the butt. So when you're slapping, bring the thumb in behind. Let's take a look at the first motion.
Reverse the firelock by the numbers 1.
The second motion, which turned upwards, the guard turned towards the body, the firelock is then placed under the left arm. Let's see it done.
2.
Okay, some of you are probably looking at me going, what? A couple of notes for this one is when it's referring to which is turned upwards, it's referring to the twist of the wrist. So I'll go in a little more detail on the next slide. But when you see that twist of the wrist, it's turning it upwards. That's what that's referring to. The trigger guard is facing the body at a 45-degree angle as the firearm is placed under the left arm. So that's kind of the breakdown for what that's going on. But if you didn't see it the first time, let's take a closer look at it. Now, this video clip does include all the motions, so it'll be counting in.
First word, firelock. By the numbers. 1, 2,
There's the twist to the wrist.
3, 4.
So the third motion, which we just kind of alluded to there, is as follows. Seizing the cock and hammer with the left forefingers and thumb.
3.
The fourth motion is the right hand is thrown behind the body and grasps the firelock. The right heel at the same time is brought to the original position.
4.
Very straightforward there. Now let's take a look at the rest upon your firelocks reversed. So again, by the numbers, the first motion, the firelock is quitted by the right hand.
Rest upon your firelocks reversed. 1,
Again, a note here is when you're grabbing it, your palm is down. The second motion,
2,
which is brought to the perpendicular position, the muzzle placed upon the toes of the left foot. Again, its note here is to keep your hands in the same position. The third and final motion for this one is the right and left hands are open, placed upon the butt end of the firelock. The soldier's head leaning on the back of the left hand so as to look towards the corpse.
3.
So again, here I'm using an India pattern brown breast musket, slightly shorter than the Shortlands, which is a little bit harder to get your head down, hence why it's a little more exaggerated on my head there. When you do look at a lot of the paintings, though, they are just kind of the chin resting down upon, either in the direction of which way the funeral procession is coming from. Now let's look at the attention and the present arms, which are the last two movements for this procedure.
3.
So the attention and the present, head snaps up. And by seizing the firelock with the left hand at the swell,
Present arm. By the numbers. 1,
and then the second motion for that one is the right hand shifted and both pulling the firelock in the same position as the presented arms. Again, when you're grabbing it, you're grabbing exactly what you do for the present arms. If we know how to do that, we know how to do this. Now I will make one note on that one. Make sure your pinky finger is touching your feather spring. It'll make it so much easier when you come back to the present. No shifting the musket around. Now, if you have any other comments, questions, or concerns about this, please shout out in the comments below or on my Facebook, Able Land. You can find me there. Please like and share. If you do want to know a little bit more about why we have these prints included, which you can see on the screen here, my previous video, which I'll link either here or here, you'll be able to go back and take a look at the motions as described by Rowlandson from 1799. On that note, thank you very much and enjoy your afternoon.